Hello, Mordy. Thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure. And I'm very looking forward to share with all of you. I'm an SEO consultant. I have my own SEO consultancy called Orienty. I have also a newsletter that probably some of you have heard about. And if not, you definitely need to
Sign
subscribe
up.
to SEO FOMO and join 40K subscribers already who they cannot be wrong. Very knowledgeable SEOs. And yes, I have been doing SEO already for a while, and it's very exciting to see all of the changes and shifts happening in AI search lately, and I'm very looking forward to share with all of you today.
Amazing. And we also have Will O'Halloran from Rise at 7. Will?
Hi, thanks, Murray. So I'm Will. I'm the SEO director at Rise. Been here about 3.5 years. I've been doing SEO at Rise basically, but yeah, I've been doing SEO for, I worked out the other day, I think 23 years. So it's been a slog. Various agencies, probably MediaCom most of my career, but yeah, manage a team of guys who look after every sort of element of SEO and search really at Rise, and we do loads with clients who are asking about AI and LLM search in a minute. So it's a good time to talk.
There we go. So that's exactly what we're talking about today. I'm trying to figure out something's wrong with the present mode where I can present and everyone can see each other and the actual people at the same time. I'm working on it. Is that working? There we go.
Yeah, I think.
There we go. Hi, master presenter. By the way, I always say this in a webinar. If this is the thing that goes wrong in a webinar, great. Just like a quick point of order, I'm going to run through a quick data survey from the latest AI Visibility Index study that the enterprise team over at SEMrush did. We'll get into a deep dive discussion. Then we're getting to your questions. Your first question is already going to be, is there going to be a recording? There will be a recording, and it will be sent out to you. I feel like if there was a search volume around webinars for will there be a recording for the webinar, it would be like 4 million. That would be the search volume, increasing every month. But please ask your questions. There's a chat functionality. You should see it there on the side panel of if the way my screen looks is the same way your screen looks. There's a place to ask questions. Use it. I find it weird, by the way, where we're just me and the presenters are just talking. Ask questions, have conversations. I'll try to answer as many questions as possible during the actual webinar itself. So please be active, say hello, talk, interact. Otherwise, it's just 3 people up here talking into the ether, and that's just weird. So with that, please use the chat functionality. We would love to hear from you. Moving on to the actual case study. So the AI Visibility Index tracks what's going on in LLM visibility and LLM search. And there were some really interesting findings in the last October report, which came out. And we're basically comparing August, September, and October together. And the data you're looking at now are unique brand mentions. And I'll sort of define that just to make sure we're all on the same page. And I always use this as the example. Later, I'm going to use a baseball example. Sounds on brand?
Perfect.
Yeah. When we were at Spotlight, which is SEMrush's conference, I was wearing a Yankees hat. I said, I'm actually a Yankees fan. I'm not just wearing like the New York logo thing. I'm a diehard baseball fan. So I'm going to use a baseball example. If I ask ChatGPT, hey, what are the best baseball stadiums to visit? And it would list, PNC Park in Pittsburgh. It would not list Yankee Stadium, which is a concrete shell of what it used to be. That's the output. And each one of the teams that it would mention, that go to the Dodger Stadium, go to the Pirates Stadium, go see Fenway Park. Each one of those will be the brand. And by the way, I think a sidebar, sports teams are brands, and sports teams are amazing examples of brand activity at work. So you should always look at them and analyze them because they're a lot of fun. The unique brand mentions would be, in this case, the unique brands that the LLM ChatGPT would mention would be the unique teams being mentioned. So back in August, you could see that ChatGPT mentioned 7,233 unique brands in the data set we're tracking. I think that's always important to remember when we're talking about data sets. There is no analyzing the entire web. You're analyzing a portion of the web. In this data set, there were 7,233 unique brands mentioned by ChatGPT in August. That number goes up to 8,000 in September and then comes back down to 7,200 in October. And I think it's an interesting part of the conversation. In the SEO world, we've had this conversation for a long time. Volatility goes up, volatility goes down, volatility goes up for a while, it comes back down. In the LLM space, we haven't really had this conversation yet. And I really want to have this conversation. I'm going to try to steer it to e-com, because I think the e-com space in the LLMs world is really interesting. But you can see the AI mode, which is the light purple, is pretty stable. But ChatGPT kind of got a little wonky there for a minute. October is the baseline. September goes up. It goes back down in October. Things are changing in the ecosystem. They're not as stable as you might think, just like search or traditional Google search and Bing, I guess, also. What is really interesting is that the unique sources being cited by the LLMs has gone up exponentially in ChatGPT, and that has not gone down. And what I mean by a source is, if I'm asking ChatGPT, in this case, what are the best baseball stadiums to visit, it's getting that information from across the web. And it might say, and it might list websites where it got the information from, like baseballstadiums.com, which may or may not be a real site. I'm making that up. Or wikipedia.com, or it got their information from reddit.com. And these citations jumped in August from there being 12,000 unique domains being cited in ChatGPT to jumping up to over 22,000, which I don't know what the percentage increase is off the top of my head, because that's math. And I don't do math at a calculator, but that's an enormous percentage increase. That's like an over 100% increase to 22,000 unique domains. So what's happening is that we're seeing in ChatGPT, at least, and to an extent in AI mode, the sources that they're using are getting more diverse, and they're getting, which means more opportunity. That's a good thing for the most part. The question I have for the panel is, seeing the volatility in LLM visibility and in the data sets change, does that change how you think about approaching your strategy for LLMs, in this case, ChatGPT, and across the board? And specifically, what does that mean for e-com? Aleda, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, so I think that, well, it's normal. There's a fluctuation in general. Like, for example, like ChatGPT, OpenAI released their merchant instant checkout capabilities still a few months ago. And there's also like a, let's say, shift and further integration happening. At the beginning, they have just started with a few platforms, vendors that they have a direct agreement with, but I expect that this increase and change, and hence provide more visibility to many more diverse sources of not only brands, but also domains that they are obtaining this information from directly now with the integration that they have with these merchants. And I expect that this will go a little bit in the same way with AI mode as well, with the announcement that happened just last week, right, a few days ago, when Google finally is releasing the proper shopping graph integration within the AI mode interface. And now we should be able to see, and I already started playing a little bit and doing a few tests in answers that for which before we had an output, a format that was very informational, like the same format that information for informational queries. Now we see that they identify the commercial intent for products, and they showcase the product knowledge cards, and each one of these products, when clicked, yes, they will showcase again like a sidebar with the product knowledge panel as well, that at the very least is linking to 3 or so vendors, PDPs directly. So from now on, what I expect is that we see more diversity of brands, more diversity of URLs and sources, because more and more this type of queries with a product-oriented intent will be less formatted in the same way than they used to, as if it was like a informational-like conversation, and they will be differentiated in output and format more and more to better connect with the commercial type of intent and commercial intent and performance type of focus that this type of conversations will have, and rather than more informational ones or even task-oriented ones that they have for other type of queries.
I almost want to dive into this a little bit deeper, but I have as a topic later on. I really want to dive into, because the way we treat LLMs right now is basically the same for informational queries, for e-com queries. We kind of just think there's just LLMs, but where things are headed, maybe that's not so. But I want to hold that point. And I am going to come back to, because you're making a really good point about Google's integration and the way some of the announcement ChatGPT has made around shopping, that I think e-com might end up being a little bit different of an LLM ecosystem than it currently is right now. But Will, I'm curious to more diversity. First off, more diversity in mentions to me is a big deal. If I'm asking on the e-com level, like what's the best, I always use this example. I'm just going to not stop. What's the best TV?
Yeah.
And then it offers Sony, Samsung, LG. Seeing more diversity in there to me is a big deal, because I already know those three companies. Those three companies are getting all the visibility anyway. I'd rather have somebody please name a smaller company. TCL.
TCL, yeah.
TCL.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it depends on what you're searching for. I think, again, like the good example there is the brands you mentioned are pretty reliable. I mean, even a few years back, you look at things like Hisense as a brand of a TV, wasn't very well known, and now they're everywhere. And TCL's, I think, going down the same route. And the way you get there is by getting exposure, right? And people buying it and trying it and reviewing it, and then the circle kind of continues. So yeah, that's got to be a good thing. I think when you're looking to know if you're using best or whatever the terminology is that kind of meets your need, I think it's important that the result meets that as well. So you can't expect the TCL TV or computer, whatever it is, to appear if there's not signals that show it meets that criteria. So best by someone's criteria probably is different to someone else's. So then that's when with the LLMs you can start getting a bit more detailed. And I'm looking exactly at that search at the minute. My son wants TV for his bedroom, so I'm trying to find out one that's kind of not going to be too hot. It's going to be in a little cabinet. So then you start to, and this is what we've been doing a lot of Rise is thinking about how people search differently on LLMs to have search in Google search, because you might just put best TV 42-inch in Google, but you do that in LLM and you're going to get a lot of text you don't want to read. Probably not. You want to just, let's say, delve into it. I think that's where they're going, is they recognize that e-com is not the answer, but it's the way they get ads in really, really solidly, for sure, because it's people want to pay for that because they know the click mainly result in a sale. So I think that's the answer. Yeah, the same as you, Lady. You see the panel of three, and sometimes, again, a little while ago, you click on those and they wouldn't always go to a live page, because I guess they're trying to pull it from somewhere and the data's out of date. But the advantage that Gemini or AI mode / Gemini surely has is that Google's got Google Shopping already. It's got access to people's feeds. People happily, here's my feed, and so
data.
Google,
they can just go and win.
In fact, it will become, I believe, 100% I agree with what you mentioned before, Morty, that it will become like its own vertical with its own characteristics, let's say features and structure, much more differentiated. And there will be a variety of them. I don't know if one of the specific examples that were included in the announcement of the new OpenAI, AI mode shopping features was the comparison one, that they allow you to, when searching for products, if they identify that your intent is to compare a few products, they will allow you to select them and showcase them head to head with the characteristic and then go through them. So this is going to, I believe, only going to get more and more refinements and subtypes and sub features, let's say, of to particularly satisfy the more transactional need of people searching for products in a commercial way, right? Not to research, but actually to buy. Those who are ready, like meet end of the funnel already, indeed.
Yeah, and that's really, just give a little context to the conversation that we're having, because we wanted to get into, but let's just have it now because we're having it now, so let's just do it, because it's a really, really interesting conversation. LLMs, and I don't think people realize this, we're used to, I don't know, search or even social. It's a conversion channel. Like I post something on X, I put a URL in there, people click, they go to my website, there's a conversion funnel there. With LLMs, it's not a conversion channel. And a lot of the times, which I see you shaking your head, I know.
Until now, indeed.
It's a conversion. What I'm trying, it's not a necessarily direct conversion channel, because what you're doing is you have the information, then you have to go somewhere next. And a lot of the times, the citation isn't really necessarily related to the thing that you want to do. So in the case of, let's say, buy TV, the wire cutter may be the cited URL, right? If Sony is the best TV that you want in this case, the source that they're using to source that is the wire cutter. You may now want to go to visit Sony.com and review them, or go to Amazon or go to Google. The citation itself may never get the click because it's not relevant to what you're actually trying to do in that particular moment. But, and my question is are LLMs for e-com going to be very, very different than that? Because they're trying to insert, as you're talking about, they're trying to insert product placement and then product conversion directly from the LLM itself. So do LLMs for informational queries become something different than what LLMs for e-com eventually become?
Indeed. I think that one of the big shifts, and one of the main things that I have included in my recent presentation, so for example, in the one that I did a spotlight, for example, a couple of weeks ago, was that we in SEO have always worked for in SEO in a way that we saw it and we treated it as a performance only channel. Mm-hmm. Even if we have to argue that for many companies that were like big brands, they were very focused on also tracking their brand visibility in the SERPs and reputation. And I
very much
big argument for big companies, but most of the people, for most companies out there, they see it purely as a performance only channel, highly oriented to performance. And in the way that they track it, the metrics, the goals, it was performance. This, let's say, attribution challenge, we already have it there. Oh, like first visit, last visit, assisted conversions. How do we track it? So we already had some sort of challenge for sure with traditional search. This only shift exponentially with LLMs, because on one hand, so far, like the big argument, or like is that we cannot treat that just as we have treated traditional search, because it has become not only a performance, or is much more of a branding than an actual performance channel, because of the weight that just a mention of a brand has in an answer for a critical query through the customer journey, for which 100% the user won't perform the conversion in that interface at all, but will very likely end up making a decision for it. They will convert elsewhere, but they will make a decision. And then it's not only, so a lot of the conversations we have seen in presentations, not only mine, but the ones of many other SEOs, have been like, we need to open our minds to start treating this as also a branding channel, and update our metrics accordingly, update the goals, and what we are and the expectations of it as a channel, to also consider the branding aspect as well. So it's not only about being included or not. I like the sentiment of the inclusion. Yes, I am being included, number one, but I like my inclusion sucks.
Does it say that you suck?
The brand is not showcasing a very good light. Thank you very much. So the understanding of that, if it has a path to conversion, excellent. You can track the traffic, but many times it doesn't. But it has a weight. So the level of trickiness, let's say, to measure attribution there, it's much higher. And I have seen a lot of also SEO. So for example, Car Handy was the other day, he was sharing a LinkedIn something very smart about this is time. And I know that we hate to ask questions to our users and our visitors, but if there was ever a time asking how did you get
But
to
how did you
convert
find
with
us?
us? How do you find us? What made you decide to buy this? It is now, because it is trickier. And also, thank you very much. All these LLM platforms are not facilitating this tracking also, with the lack of,
there's not going to be a search
dashboards,
console for ChatGPT anytime soon.
of search consoles for them or anything, or even data layers. Anyway, my point here is, yes, they have so far been performing, and there's a big point to consider them as a base in general for information queries, as a branding channel. Nowadays, though, especially in particular with e-commerce, with the inclusion of the option to convert directly in their interface with ChatGPT, and the further integration that they are pushing very obviously to keep the user within their interface and to allow the user directly to convert. And I can only imagine that they will also allow to track those conversions and performance, that are very transactional in their interface as well. So, and now with the AI mode update from last week, that is only the first step, showcasing the, let's say, the new type of interfaces that surfacing more merchant-centered power, product knowledge graph, product graph power, items and inventory in there. But eventually, I expect that, well, we have the ability not only to purchase, but the agentic features and even more, right? But
Yeah.
it is becoming more and more of a performance channel for that vertical, for sure. Yeah.
Which is interesting. I want to get back to that point in a second. I do want to say, by the way, on the point about, because I want to ask Will where you think this is headed also, but I want to say about the sentiment. There's something you need to realize if you're watching this. I was analyzing I was analyzing the SEMrush data set on this. There's very little negative sentiment inside of LLMs. You know, they're on purpose trying to be positive. So when you're looking at something and saying, "Oh, this looks pretty positive," you have to read between the lines a little bit. Sometimes the LLM will say, if you ask, like, I don't know, are Levi's a good brand of jeans? When it hems and haws, like, well, some people say, that's negative sentiment. That there's something behind it that's happening behind the scenes, meaning there's something on the web that's out there that's telling the LLM not to simply say, yes, Levi's are a great brand for jeans. So when you see the LLM kind of going back and forth a little bit, that's a flag. So it's not just like pure sentiment. Look at it. Oh, it says Levi's stings for jeans, negative sentiment. That's not how it works, because the LLMs are trying to be positive. Leaving that aside for a minute, Will, where do you see the ecosystem going for LLMs in the e-com side?
Yeah, and you made a good point there, actually, because up until now, reviews, e-com sites have lived and died by reviews, right? So everyone checks reviews. So there's got to be an element of bringing that in and being honest. So if they don't do that, that's going to be a risk. But yeah, I think the point, and Leah touched on it, about agentic stuff is really interesting. I'm not sure how ready people are for that. It's different between the people on this call and everyone who's watching, because we're in this space. My yardstick is always, does my wife use it? And if she does, because she's not techie, she's not in marketing, she's a teacher, and she's just starting to use AI, like not really like for lots of school stuff, but she's just starting to. The kids obviously already do. But that's the thing. If it becomes easy for her to find something online, because let's be honest, I mean, we're all marketers, but it sometimes is a bit of a chore to search through. If you just on Google search through and find the TV or whatever it is, because there's lots of options, and that's where you fall back to things like reviews, because like, well, I trust that site, I trust that brand, I'm not going to go with this one over here that looks a bit cheaper because it's a bit of a risk. So that's where I think LMs can win, is if they really start to make that process for people beyond this sphere actually easy and actually have success with what they're buying. So the agentic thing, I think, is maybe a step too far right now. I know Perplexity, I think they're getting sued by Amazon, aren't they? Because Comet's been buying things without people's authority and what have you. But and again, that might not be a TV, it might be smaller items. But yeah, I do think that's the way, is if you can get people just to trust that process and make it easy for the non-tech, non-marketing people. I mean, we were watching, there's a I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here in UK is probably one of the biggest programs of the year, and there was a ChatGPT advert bang in the middle of it, which must cost them a fortune, but the kids straight away recognized what it was before the logo came up. They know it. So I guess my kids use it all the time, all different ones, ChatGPT, Gemini, everything. They're into all of it. Sometimes cheating on homework, other times doing useful stuff. But again, they just know it. So I think that will definitely be a massive part of their lives, assuming that the thing doesn't go wrong. But yeah, I do think that's it. Is you need to get that element of trust, and without being honest and saying no, Levi's are a terrible pair of jeans, which they're not.
Not Levi's are great. I wasn't saying Levi's
well,
are
I've got a
bad.
pair of Levi's
I love
right now,
Levi's.
but you need that element. But that's how Google's succeeded, I think, at ecom, is because you can go, yes, Google Shopping has a lot of filters. We've talked about whether that'll be a kind of a feature, but a lot of filters, a lot of ways to search, and it's really, really honest. I mean, it's probably at some points overly honest, like one out of 5, you're not going to touch it. Even 3, sometimes you're a little bit, I'm not sure. So you're aiming for 4 and above, and yeah, that's the way they're going to win, is making that, surfacing that information rather than a wall of text. They need to get to a better
That's a
layout,
really
a
good
better
point.
feature set, and that'll be what they do. I mean, I've used it maybe twice now to not purchase products. Like I say, you can't really purchase in there yet, but to make a decision on a purchase. One was a pair of trainers, and one was actually a television. So you're just about getting there now, I think. But again, I always say, like, we're not really the use case of this, because we live it, we breathe it every single day. We see every update, every change, every tweak, and we know how it works, and we play with it. So yeah, it's the real people, you know what I mean? The people who don't use it, we need to get them to understand it, and the way you do that is by giving them the information they need, which is usually honesty. So yeah,
There's a good point about that. I think the format will change. I think the output now over is just text doesn't make. I think Google realizes this. I've talked about this before in previous webinars. If you're continuing this series, I'm repeating myself. But when they announced Gemini originally, part of the announcements, the part that wasn't fake, where they were doing things that were not actually what Gemini couldn't actually do, which was amazing in its own right that they would do that. But they had a fellow asking questions about, it's my daughter's birthday. I want to throw a party. What do I do? Blah, 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 blah. The type of result that they got back was formatted to meet that particular query. And then when he asked another query of, how do I bake a cake for this party? The format looked totally different. I think that's where we're going with all of this. I do want to go back to the trust point that you made. And I'll use an actual example for myself, because I think you're right. I think my wife is a nurse, and all of this is very new for her, and all of this, and there's a lot of skepticism around this. The data shows this. Rand Fishkin did a study about this using the Datos data. Datos is a SEMrush company, by the way, showing that users are verifying what they're seeing in the LLMs. And I'll tell you why I think that is. When I went to Spotlight in Amsterdam, which was a great time and a great conference, you should come next year. Great job, SEMrush. I asked AI mode, or it might have been the AI overview, either or, does the plug I already have work in Europe? Which it does. Okay, I'm going to show you. We use props in these webinars. This, okay, is the type of plug that I use every single day. It works in Europe. I didn't know if Amsterdam uses that or not, as I plug my computer back in.
It does.
Yeah, it does. Okay, it does. Thank you.
Smarter than AI mode.
Yeah, I should have just asked you, Elena. AI said, no, it does not work. And I was rushing around. It was one of the busiest weeks of my life. My wife was away the week before. Like, I don't have time to verify crap. If AI says that it's not good, I'm buying a converter. It was Elena was right. Okay.
I'm going to say something that beyond the fact that hallucinations still happen, right, and accuracy still an issue, and there's for some type of queries, like even if there is rounding going on, because there's still so much not necessarily accurate information on the web, it still can happen, right? So I can see how LLMs might want to, enhance a little bit the format and output across many questions that tend to get a certain type of let's say, need additional context, or are very much more difficult to understand or to grasp, and to enhance not only by showcasing more links, but the way that they are showcased and the way that information is generated. And I don't know if you see this going on, but more and more in my case, especially for more complex type of questions, I get two outputs, and they ask, like, which one do you do you prefer? Which
ChatGPT
is
doing that
better,
for a while.
right?
Google started running that. We covered that with Barry last week.
Yeah, we need to think about it. I believe as like how the SERPs evolve, right? Like we had the 10 blue links right at the beginning, right? And now take a look at what we have, for good and for bad of the traffic, by the way. But yes, realistically, is it the all of the evolution of the SERPs not only to showcase sponsored links much more prominently, which they do, but also I agree that many of the SERP features better connect with the intent and better satisfy the user. Of course, they keep the user within the SERPs, but 100% from a UX standpoint, they do make complete sense. Like a lot of queries
100%.
presenting a video as a SERP feature right on the top. People don't need to scroll; they just need to watch a video, and that will satisfy their need. The same with product carousels. Product carousels, like the type of engagement that they have gotten, and they are showcased above default for so many different queries. A lot of people ask me, it's like, oh, is in e-commerce, have they suffer the same type of effect that publications or publishers for AIOs? And my answer is no, but the type of that decrease in click-through rate, we have seen it, but because of the product carousels on the other hand, which makes much more complete sense in this other type of scenario. So I believe this is going to happen more and more in LLMs, this differentiation and more features that makes more sense, and the highlight of more type of information and format of information that makes more sense depending on the intent of the user and the type of the topic.
If you merge a knowledge panel with the AI output, that would be amazing. And by the way, Liz Reed, who's Google's head of search, talked about something very similar to this a couple of weeks ago in a Wall Street Journal interview. And as someone who's done comms for publicly traded companies like SEMrush, where I used to be head of comms, the comms line is, if you watch the shifts in narratives, they are not by accident. They are very purposeful. And Liz Reed, who's the head of search, has been very, obviously bullish on AI. And the answer to the question of what about traffic losses to websites because of AI has always been, the answer to that question was always, no, the quality of lead is better. So there might be less traffic, but the quality of lead is better. When she did the Wall Street Journal interview, that narrative shifted, and it's not an accident. She said, people really want authentic sources. They want to go directly to the podcast. They want to go directly to the YouTube creator. So that narrative is shifting. And I think the reason why she shifted that narrative is because Google does see that data. Google's very good at seeing user behavior data. And she's basically seeing what you just said, Aleda, is that they see that the AI output, people do want the LLM output, but they also want the contextualization also of the podcast, of the YouTube video. And I believe, this is my speculation, but having done comms for a long time for publicly traded companies, when there's a shift in narrative like that, it's because they've seen a shift and now they're realigning. And they're basically seeing the shift that you just said, Aleda. I want to come back, though, to TVs. I want to come back to TVs, Will, because I think we're talking about, say, you're looking for a TV, and we're talking about TCL, and we're talking about brand diversity in the citations, in the mentions that fluctuated back and forth a little bit. But if you are, let's say you're not a Sony, you're not an LG, and you're not Samsung, you're TCL, what are you doing on the e-com side to sort of to align with what Aleda was saying before, to build up that brand? Because everyone's talking about, okay, brand, and I agree, as someone who was on the brand side a lot, yes, brand, but what are you actually doing strategically on the e-com side to build up, let's say, TCL? You don't have to use that actual example, in order to get a brand that may not be the top three that the LLM is usually sourcing, to get in there that users can now see it?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it shouldn't be anything crazy different. So there's not a lot of options that are different. I just don't think there's any kind of magical silver bullet to do that.
There's no magical brand.
No, it's no button. Top to the top, please. But I definitely think things we just spoke about. I think trust is huge. I think being included, and again, it's part of what I guess any brand, electronics brand, makeup brand would be doing anyway, is getting products into the hands of reviewers. And again, as we talk about diversity, I guess that would help. So yes, get it to the main sites that review things, but also then spread it out and do it to sites that are. We've seen quite a few where looking at sources, looking at citations, sites that we've never seen in traditional search results when we're looking at things for clients. And I think that's part of what the numbers were showing there, is that it's growing massively. So why not spread your wings a little bit and go a little bit wider and get more reviews from more places, different voices. But yeah, definitely focus on the core. Obviously, make sure you're on all the places that people are going to naturally go to, and Google, Bing, and then as a result, LLMs do seem to put trust in. So I think that's really, really important. So, and it's almost like back to, and I can't remember when it was. It might have been 2011 or so. And I can't remember who it was. Someone coined the term RCS. So like real company shit. So do things that a company would do. Don't if you're trying to. Yeah, it was
Will Reynolds. That sounds like a Will Reynolds thing to say.
It might have been at Search Love. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, he said, look, just people saying, oh, what do we do here? How do we do it? How do we do better? So, well, do what a real company would do, because that's not what. And this is back when we were talking about kind of spam and stuff. And that's not what spammers do. Spammers don't waste their time doing stuff like that because they can't put job postings live because they don't have any jobs. They can't do this. They can't do announcements about Brenda, who's been there for 50 years and whatever it might be. So there's loads of things you can do. And yeah, one of those things is get product reviewed by professional reviewers. Yeah, definitely try and make sure that someone's managing reviews for you in terms of customer reviews and responding to bad ones and all the good stuff that you should do anyway. What I'm saying is I don't think you take the eye off the ball and go, right, how do we start to trick this LLM system into returning us? I think it's just if you're doing it in the right way. And again, sometimes that takes time. And I guess TCL must have been doing this for some time. That they've not just sprung out of nowhere. They're probably having in the background been going, wow, we're in like 0.1% share of TVs worldwide. Like, how do we get to 2? And then they'll go from there and go from there. So that's what I do, is I would make sure that the product is good, because that was part of the RCS stuff. Like, if you haven't got a good product,
pause there for 1 second. The product has to actually be good.
Yeah. I mean, that was always a John O'Alderson thing, wasn't it? Like, the product is the marketing, right? Like, if it's good, it's good, and people talk about it.
You need to be clear on the unique selling proposition. Or maybe it's not that good, but it's super cheap. Let's think airlines, right? I'm not going to mention names, but there are certain airlines that
Spirit,
they are not
Ryanair,
known.
I'll go on.
They are not known to be the best necessarily, right? But this is cost effective, right? I believe that I am 100% with you about, you need to be clear on your unique selling proposition and your branding and what you are known about and what is your angle, what is your edge versus all of this other competitors, and then you need to align your narrative, your content, not only the one that you have on your own side, but 100% you need to work on real marketing stuff with your PR team, with your community management team. You need to identify, and for this we have now amazing trackers. So for example, the SEMrush one that allows you to identify where are the conversations happening, or where are the mentions and the citations coming in your vertical and for your particular product lines and topics. Are they happening from, and a lot of these are coming from Reddit conversation or from YouTube? Maybe do we have presence in there? Do we have a community manager monitoring the conversations and the mentions and the interactions in there in a good way, not spammy, in a good way, in a way that actually a community manager will engage? And then on the other hand, for reviews and publications, do we have our digital PR team monitoring those as well? Where are they coming? And what I have seen so far, right? We know that this is evolving a lot, especially with a more shopping oriented and like inclusion type of transactional cards in answers. But I did an analysis for a lot of clients, like in their own verticals. So for like when buying or looking for jeans related products or jerseys, or for many different product lines, or sneakers. And realistically, there was a shift across many of them. In some cases, there were more brand showcase. Whenever there were more aggregators or more marketplaces that had more a wealth of content or information that was a good input for the answer. But in other cases, it was more a lot of review type of blog posts. So for example, in the fashion industry, a lot of these are coming from Vogue and all of these publishers, because there are a ton of sort of informational, but for products that is high quality, that EAT is there, is obviously written by an expert, and and great sources to inform and to blend and to make an answer really comprehensive about the product that is actually taken from the brand. So this is the type of patterns that we need to look for our own vertical, for our own product lines. Where are the citations coming from? Where are the mentions coming from? Which type of platforms are we aligning our work not only to monitor but to optimize and our presence in these platforms with our digital PR and with our community management team and do it accordingly. And now more and more that is becoming more performance driven, and the integration with the feeds is like how much of our work will take to generate or transform our shopping feeds from the ones that we generate for Google, for OpenAI now. Are we already working on that? So integration here is also important, and all of the level of details and accuracy. And take a look at how Google now is making it super easy, even without relying on structured data, without necessarily having to have a merchant feed, just through the Google Search Console to have like the information about, yes, they want that information, they want the data, and very likely not only for the traditional search as well. So we need to be out there identifying all of these additional configurations and as much as information that we can provide about our product, not only the ones that are very merchant oriented or shopping oriented, but the sentiment, the narrative, the visibility, and the authority in our own very specific vertical. Because of course, if you're a niche type of TV, we are the best ones for digital nomads or for travelers, because we have portable TVs or TVs that integrate and allow you to see with minimum hassle TV from all over the world, whatever, right? Like, what is your unique selling proposition to be the winner in that particular space, rather than trying to compete for every single type of topic or query in your market?
Well, that's sort of the problem. I'm gonna go full brand on you for a second. I might black out while I do this, because you mentioned alignment, and that's one of the problems. Is how do you ensure alignment, and how do you ensure? I'll use TCL as an example. What companies inevitably do is they skip the brand identity building part, because there's no KPI for it. So every company needs a messaging framework, because your social media team needs a messaging framework so they can put a message out, or so that you can create an LP so you can put a message out. What happens is that brands never focus on the identities. If I was like TCL, and by the way, I would focus on not the first, what's the best TV, but the follow-up prompt, right? So if I'm just making this up. If I'm TCL and we're all about the fact that our TVs do not break. I'm making this up, okay? Our TVs do not break. That's who we are as a company. We build TVs that do not break. Perfect. That's great for kids, right? So if I have I'm searching for best TVs, the brands show up, then I do a follow-up. What's the best TV for kids who are rambunctious and will most likely smash the things into 1,000 bits? TCL, because you built up that brand identity, and now you have alignment across channels, right? So now, because you know who you are and what you're all about, when you talk on social, when you talk on Reddit, when you talk on Twitter, when you talk on LinkedIn, when you talk at a conference, when you talk in a blog post, it will all be aligned, because you did that hardcore brand identity work that everyone skips over, because there's no direct KPI about it. And that, by the way, I'm going to say something a little bit of a hot take. That's the point where I think that the performance marketing side, the SEOs of the world, are having a little bit of a hard time with, because we're talking about brand, but what does it mean to actually do that? And there's a lot of layers of work that have to be done first before you ever get to the point where it's something you can actually see publicly or that's measurable. Okay, I blacked out. Sorry. I want to go into one quick data point. It's like time ebbs away on us, and I don't know the answer to this question, and I'm just going to throw it out there. And I don't know if anybody knows the answer to this question, but I keep seeing this. I saw this in the August study, and I'm seeing this in the October AI Visibility Index, that different e-commerce verticals perform differently. So, for example, consumer electronics, ChatGPT saw a huge jump, a 25% spike in brand diversity, meaning the brands are showing for that vertical, way more brands are showing up. But for fashion and apparel, it's actually slightly less. And I don't have a good I don't have a good answer. I don't know if anybody has a good answer, but why? Why are different verticals in e-com performing differently inside of LLMs? And I'm asking for pure speculation here.
Yeah, no,
I do realize that.
this is going to be a large dollar for that. So yeah, the in reason, and again, right at the bottom as well, it has, I think it was finance was way down on both of them.
Yeah, finance and yes,
way
right?
down. And my thought on that is maybe that they've realized, like I guess Google did however many years ago, that you treat things like finance differently to the way you treat fashion. So your money, your life, and they know that needs more attention. So maybe they've tweaked something to say, right, maybe masses different brands in that space isn't a good thing, because if some of them are ones we don't know, then we're putting people into a spot where they get in financial trouble and difficulty. So maybe they've done something that I don't know. But yeah, the one about the consumer electronics versus fashion, I guess with the consumer electronics, there are, and my only thoughts on this are that there are so many launches of individual things, and having to start look for a new iPhone for my son who's broken his screen, and he's a few years old. I'm like, God, how many iPhones are there now? It's crazy. And maybe again, TVs, there's so many, and they've got really long names and things. And maybe it's just the volume of that. They've opened it up and gone, actually, there's loads more we could include here. We probably should. Whereas with fashion, I guess there's always new fashion, new clothes, but a blue dress, and there's a blue dress here, and they don't have kind of names, like complicated long names. Maybe there's something about the volume of releases within consumer electronics and how many review sites there are that mean that they can go, ooh, we'll have all that, thank you, and off you go, compared to fashion. But that was my only thought, really. I didn't have anything more than that.
Yeah, realistically, like you made a really good point, Will, regarding like what is the inventory, the availability of imagine how many consumer electronic type of products are out there, the brands, versus finance ones. Just availability of them, right? To be able to showcase information that is actually aligned with the availability of information that they have access to. And then on the other hand, I imagine that this has to do also a little bit with that type of intent. I don't know, like the sample of prompts that you're using there, but I have the feeling that it is a little bit of like the alignment on that, and then also the perceived intent at the end of the day, that for a more retail oriented type of product, even if it is not too commercial, even if it is informational, the type of output will be more like the transactional oriented, let's say, with cards and more diversity or bullet points, showcasing or trying to provide more of a showcase, more characteristics that will satisfy that better, rather than a SaaS, for example, that will be more like about other type of output or format for which not necessarily that many brands mentions are needed to satisfy it.
That's a really great point. Most of which I didn't even think of, because like it's not my e-commerce, not my favorite like space. Like that's a really great point. Like consumer electronics, I never thought of that. There's so many launches. I would love to dive into this way more. I just want to get into two questions. Milo's asked, what can I do to help my product be recommended for a prompt that includes a certain location?
Well, I would say to make it obvious that you work in that locations. You have landing pages for them, and I don't mention this in a tricky way or programmatic bad way, but my clients that are actually being showcased for every location are the ones that have a really good taxonomy in their own site. They are marketplaces, and they have a landing page. And imagine this, right? Airbnb. They have a landing page for Barcelona, a landing page for every single city that they operated, not because they want to manipulate their way into the SERPs, no, because it's actually relevant for their customers to showcase and the specific products and services in that particular area. And so it's good for taxonomy. It's good. Their web architecture is on point. Imagine Yelp. Yelp has location-based landing pages because they have different products and services operating in each one of those cities, and they have the granularity depending on the supply and demand. It's all about supply and demand here. I'm not talking about spam. Supply and demand. So do you have more than X products or services in a particular location? Is there demand for it? So it will be worth it to optimize for it, to connect and showcase product offering or service offerings that there is a need for and will satisfy your user needs. Perfect. Enable a landing page that is on point, well designed, that provides a great user experience, great taxonomy, etc., like Yelp or TripAdvisor, or all of this many location-oriented players do. And that is how you are going to do it. I have a client that is a marketplace, in fact, that I cannot mention names, but is in they have location-based landing pages because they actually provide services in each one of these locations, and their products and services are different in each one of them. So they want to surface them to make it relevant and specific, and the experience unique for each one of those audiences out there, and to better convert them. And it makes sense. So does it mean that you need to do it by default? No. But I hope, hopefully with all of this, I have provided you enough criteria to consider it. And depending if you're operating in different locations, it might make sense or not to enable this accordingly, right? So it's about supply and demand at the end of the day. And funnily enough, I have been testing a lot of these queries, these prompts, focus on locations for this client, because they are very location oriented. So of course, if I ask, or if I search for their service type or name or product offering plus location, their relevant location will be showcased along with their other competitors that all of them have location. One of them is Yelp, another one is more specialized ones, but yes, this generic directory like type of websites. But then I started doing tests, changing the IP location based on my history or different profiles. And of course, I didn't need to mention my location many times. I provide me X or Y product nearby, and they will provide the specific landing page for that product that client has, because it's very optimized for that location. And then of course it's about mentions of you being a relevant player in those locations from external sources as well. So not necessarily very different from SEO in that regard, but just ensure that it's actually relevant and not spammy and meaningful for that audience. It's about supply and demand at the end of the day.
Will, Tom asked, do you think Google ads are still viable, or should our focus and resources go to AI search optimization?
I think that's still two very different things. I don't think it's an either or. Yeah, that you're not going to get the same return in the same way from putting time and effort into AI as you are in Google ads. So I guess over time you can maybe look to rely on it a bit more, but only as you would with organic search, I guess. So you wouldn't want to throw that out and just start again. We're saying really there is no magic difference here, so there's nothing different to do. Maybe it's a little more focused on, like, if you have a particular product, can you do some PR? If you're not doing PR, can we do some of that, and can we get ourselves in some great roundups or kind of lists of best X, best Y, or can we do some social that again gets us talked about, just like Lida was saying there. Like one of the things we say in the phrase is if you can become unavoidable. So every time search engine bot or whatever it is going around, it finds your brand, that's the best thing. It's like, oh, I found you again, perfect. So yeah, I wouldn't say there's a switch that off and start focusing over here. Ideally you'd already be focusing on AI and LLMs, because hopefully you're already doing things that are going to benefit you in organic search, so that's probably going to help. So the first thing I would do is do some analysis and do some checking and see, even manual searches, but also with any of the tools that are available, to find out, are you showing the terms you want to show for? Because you might be surprised. I mean, we've had clients that do quite well without us having to look at things and do other things. We've had clients who haven't, and we've really focused on it. One thing we did was pull down citations and sources and create a list of sites to target based on that. The ones we know were used as citations and sources for a makeup brand, and we kind of did really well for them off the back of that. So yeah, I don't think it's to turn it off and focus on that other avenue right now, for sure. And yes, the Google ads will still do their evil job, won't they? And they'll deliver you some clicks and some conversions, no doubt. So yeah, I would still keep
especially now they have the expandable ads. My shout out to my good friend Greg Finn over at Cypress North, who's loving this because it looks very organic. You have the expandable ads now.
Yeah,
you think you're clicking on something organic and it's an ad. It's great for PPC people.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
that's
you
a
can
great
hide them
word.
now as well. You can.
Yeah, you
hide them.
yes, good stuff.
I do that every time. Just make a point of always hide them. Get away.
Ads are a good thing. Ads are an important part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
Don't just throw away
That's how we will get, if we do get, some kind of search console, some kind of ads planner, because those things typically are born out of there being an ad offering, because someone wants to know, oh, I'll put an ad there, but you've got to give me some data. Like, why am I putting an ad there? So that's why Google Ads keyword planner is so kind of complex now and has a lot of stuff in it, because they know it works. So yeah.
Not yet. So far, not so good on that front from Google. On that note, as we ebb away with time, I want to thank Aleda, Will. Thank you so much for joining us. First of all, where can people find you?
I'll go first. You can find me. I'm on LinkedIn, but I'm also on X/Twitter. Just Will O'Hara. On there, I'm still on there despite what's going on. But yeah,
X. I'm still on X.
Yeah, it's still good for SEO. I think for SEO stuff. So yeah, I'm on X.
Aleda, you're everywhere. I mean, just
I'm LinkedIn very active lately since X went downhill. Also Blue Sky, and of course in SEO FOMO. If you want to keep up with the latest SEO and AI search news, definitely subscribe there. And I try to pick up the best and most worthy news without any spam. Of course, only the worthy latest resources for you to check out.
Highly recommended. I subscribe myself. So there. Also, check out the AI Visibility Index. That's where the data that you saw today, that's where it was from. It was powered by the SEMrush Enterprises team AI Visibility Index, which is an index scoring what's happening with brand mentions and citations inside of LLMs and putting out reports like the one you saw was from the most recent October report. Also, be sure to check out the SEMrush Enterprise tool. You can track, analyze, grow visibility across AI search so that your customers can find you first. It's a database of over 93 million prompts, advanced automations, agentic AI, and optimization tools. And you can optimize across products, brands, or regions. It's a very, very powerful tool. So be sure to check out the SEMrush Enterprise tool. Also, we're back next month with another webinar. It's a little bit of a hot topic. I think we have the iPoll Rank team talking about, is it SEO or is it GEO? So come back for that one as well. And again, thank you very much for everyone who was attending. And again, there'll be a recording. And thank you very much to Aleda and Will. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take care, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.